I had the scent of garlic and rosemary on my hands and a smile on my lips until he looked me in the eyes and said the words that would shatter my entire world. "I can't do this anymore, Mia. I'm in love with someone else." 2 weeks before our 30th anniversary, it was a Friday evening. The house smelled like roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and my grandmother's secret herb gravy. I had just lit the candles on the dining table, soft jazz playing in the background. An ordinary evening, in an ordinary marriage, or so I thought. Robert was due home any minute. I glanced at the clock, 6:42 p.m. He was usually late these days, not drastically, just enough to make me wonder. 10 minutes here, 15 there, a missed call, a vague excuse. But I was the kind of wife who didn't pry. After all, we'd built a life together. 3 decades of memories, children, vacations, Sunday breakfasts, late night tears, and laughs. Love changes over time. It matures. It deepens, right? When I heard the garage door, my heart still fluttered, like it always had. I told myself not to overthink. Maybe he had a tough day. Maybe I was being silly. Maybe I just needed to look into his eyes again, to feel everything was fine. He walked in, loosened his tie, and gave me a quick, almost mechanical peck on the cheek. There was no eye contact. That was the first crack. "I made your favorite," I said softly. "Oh, thanks," he replied. No smile. We sat down. He pushed his food around more than he ate. Something was wrong. The silence stretched and bent the air between us. And then it happened. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice oddly calm. "And I need you to hear me all the way through before you say anything." My hand froze midair, fork suspended like a question mark. "I didn't mean for it to happen this way," he continued, "but I've met someone. She's 25. Her name is Elise, and I think I love her. Just like that, 30 years of marriage, gone." In a sentence, he didn't cry. I did, silently at first, like a storm gathering at the horizon. My vision blurred. The scent of rosemary turned bitter in my nose. My mouth went dry. My heart, it didn't break, it shattered, loudly, inwardly. Every memory replayed like a cruel montage in my mind. Our wedding day, the birth of our twins, the mortgage payments, the PTA meetings, the night his mother died, and I held him as he sobbed like a child. All of it. "What about me, Robert?" I whispered. "What about us?" He looked away. "I don't know. I didn't plan for this. But I can't lie to you anymore. Elise, 25. I was 53. I had grey hairs he used to find charming. I had lines and stretch marks from giving birth to his children. I had sacrificed job offers, friendships, even pieces of myself, to be the perfect wife. And now I was replaceable, discardable. He said he'd move out by the end of the month. Said he'd take care of everything financially. As if that would make anything better. As if my pain could be settled like a transaction. I sat there long after he left the table, long after his footsteps faded up the stairs. The food grew cold, the candles burned low, and in that silence, I realized something. I wasn't just mourning my marriage. I was mourning me, the woman I used to be, the woman who once danced barefoot in the kitchen, who had dreams of writing novels, of hiking through Italy, of starting a garden, the woman who slowly disappeared behind laundry piles, school runs, and being Mrs. Robert Holloway. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid in bed beside the man who no longer loved me, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks. In the morning, I packed a small bag and drove to the lake house, alone, and for the first time in 30 years. I didn't make breakfast for anyone. else. I just breathed. The lake house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't comfort, but confronts. It forced me to hear every thought I had silenced over the years. I hadn't been here alone before. It was always a family. Getaway, the kids laughing on the porch swing, Robert grilling steaks, me in the hammock with a book I never quite finished. And now, just me, a suitcase, a half-dead phone, and a soul I didn't recognize anymore. I stood by the edge of the lake, watching the water ripple with the morning wind. I felt like those ripples, disturbed at the surface, uncertain of where they'd land. The sun rose slowly, golden light washing over the world like a second chance. I hadn't cried since last night. Maybe I didn't have tears left. Maybe I was too numb. Or maybe, deep inside, something stronger than pain had begun to stir, a spark. I made coffee, burned the first batch, laughed at myself. That laugh, raw, broken, but mine, was the first sign that I hadn't completely disappeared. Somewhere beneath the layers of wife, mother, caregiver, Mia still existed. And she was waking up. By noon, I opened the closet and found the old canvas bag where I'd kept my journals. The pages were yellowed, the ink faded, but the words, they were full of life, my dreams, my fears, my voice, untouched by marriage or motherhood. One entry, dated June 1994, caught my eye. I want to write a novel someday. A story about a woman who finds herself when she's nearly lost everything. I think those are the stories worth telling. Sat there, stunned. That woman I had dreamed of writing about. That woman was me now. Over the next few days, I made a routine, morning walks, journaling, cooking just for myself. I cried sometimes, yes, but I also remembered how to be with myself, how to like myself. I called the twins, Emma and Luke. They were both in grad school now, living their own lives. I didn't tell them about Robert yet. I wasn't ready, not because I was ashamed, but because I needed to find my strength before letting them see the cracks. But Robert called, twice, left voicemails. We need to talk. I didn't expect you to leave. We should discuss the next steps. I deleted them because, for once, I wasn't going to clean up his mess. Not now, not again. On the fifth morning, I met someone, an old woman named Gloria, who lived 2 cabins down. She saw me sitting on the dock and came over with a basket of fresh muffins. You look like a woman going through something, she said with a knowing smile. I smiled back. You could say that. She sat beside me and handed me a muffin. I came here after. My husband died. 40 years together and poof, just gone. Took me a year to stop setting 2 plates. I nodded slowly. What brings you here? She asked. He left me, I said softly. For a 25-year-old. She let out a slow whistle. And let me guess, you're 50-something with a heart full of unpaid debts. My eyes welled up, not from pain this time, but recognition. She got it. Yeah, I whispered. She looked out at the lake. Men like that, they never leave for the girl. They leave because they can't face the woman you've become. Strong, complicated, real. I stared at her. She patted my hand. It's not a tragedy, honey. It's a permission slip. To what? To live the rest of your life for yourself. That evening, I sat at the table with my laptop open and typed the first words of a story. My story. I didn't know if anyone would read it, but I did it anyway, because I had a voice, and it was time. The world heard it. The next morning, I looked at my reflection. I saw someone older, yes, but also someone wiser. Someone who had loved deeply, lost painfully, and still stood tall. The pain didn't go away overnight, but neither did my courage. I wasn't just abandoned. I was free, and freedom I was learning could be terrifying and beautiful. 6 weeks passed since that dinner, the one that changed everything. 6 weeks since Robert's confession. Since I drove to the lake house with a hollow chest and tear-blurred eyes. Since I faced the raw silence of solitude. And now I wasn't crying anymore. I was writing. It started small. Just an essay about marriage, about sacrifice, about how women lose themselves without even realizing. I uploaded it anonymously to a blog I created at 2 a.m. called Letters to the Woman I Was. Within 48 hours, it had 4,000 views, then 20,000. Women from all over the world began writing back. This feels like my life. I gave him everything and got left behind. Thank you for reminding me I'm still someone. It felt like someone had turned a key in my chest. For the first time in years, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't Robert's wife or the kid's mom. I was Mia Holloway, and I had a voice people wanted to hear. When I finally returned home to the city, the house no longer felt like mine. The fridge still had Robert's almond milk, his razor in the shower, his books on the nightstand, but he was gone, staying with a friend he had texted. We both knew what that meant. I walked room to room like a stranger. Then I did something bold. I boxed up everything that wasn't mine. The cufflinks I bought him for our 10th anniversary, gone. The wedding album, sealed in the attic. His whiskey glasses, donated, not out of spite, but space. I needed space to become someone new. I painted the living room, sage green, a color he used to hate. I cut my hair, not just a trim, a real, fierce cut, chin length, fresh, bold. When I walked past the mirror, I smiled, not because I looked younger, but because I looked true. One afternoon, I received a message from Elise. Hi Mia. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say, I never meant to hurt you. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't reply, because it wasn't about her anymore. This wasn't a competition between women. This was about a man who made a choice, and a woman who finally chose herself. Robert came, back one weekend to talk. He stepped into the house and blinked. You painted. I did. I said. It feels different. I am different. I replied, handing him a mug of black coffee. His favorite, though I didn't drink it anymore. He sat down, nervously rubbing his wedding band. I don't know if this was a mistake, he said. Elise, she's young, fun, but she doesn't know me like you do. It's not the same. I stared at him, not with anger, not with desperation, just calm. It's not supposed to be the same, I said. Because I'm not the same woman you left. He blinked. I thought I wanted you back, I said honestly. But I realize now, I wanted back. The version of us that no longer exists. He opened his mouth, closed it. Do you love her? I asked. I don't know, he admitted. But you left me anyway. Silence. I'm not angry anymore, Robert. I'm just done. That hurt him more than shouting ever could. Because men like him expect drama. Tears, screaming, begging, not peace, not power. That night, I lit a candle, opened my laptop, and submitted my book proposal to 5 publishers. By morning, 2 had replied with interest. The third one offered a contract by week's end. 2 months later, my memoir was released under the title, After He Left, Finding Me at 53 It, hit number 1 on several women's empowerment lists. I started receiving interview requests, podcast invites, messages from women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, saying they finally felt seen, and somewhere in the middle of all this, something miraculous happened. I fell in love again, not with another man, with myself. I took that trip to Italy I always dreamed of, alone. I wandered cobblestone streets in Florence, sipped espresso in Venice, stood silent beneath the stars in Tuscany, and I wrote every day, not for anyone else, but because I had something to say. Emma and Luke came home for Christmas that year. I told them the truth. They were shocked, angry, protective. But then they hugged me, hard. "You're incredible, Mom," Emma whispered. "I don't know how you're so strong." I wasn't, I said, smiling. But I learned. Sometimes I still miss the old life, but I don't miss who I was in it. I'm no longer waiting to be chosen. I already chose myself. He left me for someone younger, but I found someone wiser, me.